Mark, thank you so much for coming on Fraud Busting. It's really an honor to have you on the show.
It's great. It's great to be on a show called Fraud Busting. It's just making me very, very nervous. I think I've, got some kind of what do you call it when you feel you might be guilty of something and you don't know that you are, and you're not. You kind of go, hang on, why am I on Fraud Busting?
I didn't tell you what kind of show this was because we're going to bust everything you've ever done today.
Nice. Great. Yeah. I know you've been doing your research, so now I'm knuckled down for the interrogation. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how we got connected, because we've bounced around, I think, a lot for the years. And finally, I met some of your pals on the behavior panel who are just fantastic. And then the Global Gurus list came out, which is a top 30 list of experts in the world, in this case body language experts. No one knows how they do their criteria, and you came out number 1, I came out number 10, and I'm like, who is this guy? And his really good TED talk that he did, I'm like, I need to know him. So here we are.
Here we are. Yes, we don't know how that ranking is done. I always say, if it's in my favor, I think it's done in a very legitimate way. If it's not in my favor, then I'm really not sure that any attention should be paid to it. Right. But I've been number 1 3 times on that. So
I love that.
Yeah, so I think it's a very legitimate top 10.
Well, I got to figure out how to move up is what I need to do. So if you have any tips, I'm all ears.
As number 1, why would I tell you that? Why would I ever do that? No, we'll chat about that for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So, but you are like, I think for real, from the things that I see put out there from you, like really classy body language expert, objective, not an agenda with any of your analysis that I've seen. Excellent keynote speaker. So let's talk about the things maybe that are harder to find about you. Let's talk just quickly. What happened in 2003? Does that ring a bell for you?
Gosh, what happened in 2003? Probably so much. Help me. Where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to go here?
When I say Nike commercial.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, so in as you say, 2003, I'm taking your word for the date. In 2003, I was in a Nike commercial for the Super Bowl. So it was the Nike Super Bowl commercial. So pretty big in terms of commercial. Yeah. I don't think you ever get any bigger than a Nike commercial for the Super Bowl. And the idea for that was, it's called the Streaker. You can go and find it. Just Google Nike Streaker and I will come. And I streak on a Millwall football pitch. Very well-known football pitch in South London. I streak, and it was recorded, and it became a Nike commercial. I'll say no more about because go and watch it. But yeah, the interesting thing for me was it was about how do you reproduce that movement? What would a streaker look like if they were totally free? Uh-huh. That being part of Nike's brand, the idea of utter freedom, the idea of being a complete outsider from the group. So we filmed it at a football pitch with thousands of fans there and 7 outside broadcast cameras, football players, referees over 4 days.
4 days?
4 days filming.
And so here's the question everyone's going to want to know. Were you actually naked? Because really?
Yeah,
you were.
Absolutely naked. Apart from the scarf and the sneakers, I didn't even have any socks on. And that can chafe a little bit if you're running for 4 days with no socks on. And they were tight shoes as well. The thing is to make them look really neat, you need them a size too small. So they look kind of super neat and... Yeah, so running for 4 days in sneakers that are a size too small for me and a scarf, and that was it. We did play around with the idea of being covered up in some way, so we did do a take where I was covered up, and they weren't going to pixelate it. It's, the area that you're maybe thinking of is pixelated in the in the final broadcast of it. And we did do one where I think I had a paper plate with a smiley face kind of strung there as an idea, just in case, the brand decided that they didn't want to go with the pixelation. But it was very hard to run around for a day like that. In the end, it's easier to run around totally naked in front of thousands of people, though it is slightly psychologically damaging. I did go into after 4 days of it. I literally came home and went into shock. I sat in the bath and just started shaking.
Really?
Yeah, I went into shock. Yeah, it was quite. Not only was it super cold, it was super cold.
Yeah, it doesn't look warm there at all.
It's not warm. Well, it's England. It's not warm. Even on a warm day, it's cold in England. It's damp. Yeah. So I was running for 4 days naked. I would run into the arms of a third assistant director who would have a big jacket, like ski jacket, full length ski jacket. I would run into that to stay warm. I had a masseur who would between takes try and get my limbs working again, because it was 4 days of solid running. They would bring in different football teams. I was the same person running each time. So it was hard work.
There was a lot of running. Like you were full field, up the stairs, down the stairs.
Totally. It's a football pitch. It's a long way. And I'm not necessarily an athlete. So it was a lot of running. And the stunt guys who were playing the police, we wanted to get, if you've seen the video, there's an end kind of tackle where he just misses my feet, which is a great shot. It's like just inches away that I escaped the tackle of the police. Well, in order to get that shot, you have to do it time and time again and get the one time that you escape from it. So most of the time I was being taken down by a rugby playing stunt guy in a police, and the ground is hard. So it really hurts.
Oh my God.
Really hurts.
So then, how did you end up doing this? Like, was there a casting call, or did someone know you, or what's?
Yeah, so I was known in the entertainment world of theatre, film, and TV. I was known in that area of how do you choreograph, how do you help people, train people, and doing it myself in creating feelings from moving pictures. I was very inserted into what we called at the time visual theatre. So and also some of that filming where you see, Jim Henson's Creature Shop, for example, where you've got, full body puppets, and I was in Muppets, that world. Skin work as we'd call it. So I was very much inserted in that world, and I was obsessed with that world as a kid. I wrote my university dissertation on the Muppet Show.
You did?
Yeah. Because Jim Henson was a massive influence on me, huge influence. Jim Henson's extraordinary person, not only just in what he created, on many levels of what Jim managed to create, the philosophy behind that, but also the skill. Here's the skill, and I was obsessed with this. How do you get a sock? Okay, how do you get a sock on your hand? And so quick, because of the movement that you're making, so quickly trigger somebody's instinct. Not only that it's not a sock and it's a living, animal of some sort, but that it has human emotions. Imagine if you could do that instantly. Just stick a sock on your hand and move it in such a way that an audience would just go, well, that's a frog. And it's a frog that's sad. It's really sad, like I'm sad. Or it's a frog that's really happy, like I'm happy, or a frog that's inquisitive. Like Jim could do that. And I was obsessed with that. Like, what is it that about movement that can trigger my instinct instantly with that? And that's really how I got into the nonverbal world. I was excited. I remember one particular instance. And I was walking down the street, and I just quickly jumped almost into the road because there was some kind of, I thought it was a snake or something like that, or something anyway that was going to bite me, down at my feet through the streets of London. And I looked, and it was a paper bag blowing in the wind. Okay. But it had triggered my fight or flight instinct. It had totally that movement in the corner of my eye of a paper bag blowing in the wind had created, through serendipity, the right rhythm in my peripheral vision in order to trigger my instinct of predator below.
Oh, wow.
And I went, what is that? How does that instinct work? What does it need to see to trigger predator below, predator above, friend in front, predator behind? Like, what does it need? So I started investigating, what is the movement, the rhythm? What does it need? What does the instinct need to see to get triggered with all these emotions and feelings? And that's where I got. And so then I got onto Henson, who was doing all of that, who understood that really, really well, with Creature Shop and creating monsters, Monster Factory, and creating things to fall in love with and things to be fearful of. So I got into this whole kind of fear, approach and avoid response. And that's really where a lot of my work comes from, is what do you need to do in order to trigger another human being into the approach or avoid response? Because that's happening all the time.
Oh, I love that.
Anyway, as you can see, I'm obsessed and fascinated
with the Muppets. Area. Who knew?
The Muppets.
Yeah.
The Muppets.
Now, okay. Yeah. So let's. So anyway, you ended up being a streaker, like from that, which is like pretty great.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah.
Let's talk about more of your current work. So you always say in your well, we can take this one of two ways, because you always say, like, in your intros, you're like, he's worked with some of the leaders of the G7.
Yeah.
So are you at liberty to say much about that, or No, of course not.
I think I probably already would have, if I'll tell you a story about me streaking and that I'm obsessed with the Muppet Show, do you think if I could tell you, the leaders that I would just blurt it out? I think I probably would. So no, you can, look, if you go around the internet enough, you'll probably, from some journalist articles, you can probably pick up some factual things that they've put down there. I'm not going to put those out there. That's just not. I'm. All kinds of things would happen if I did. So I'm not going to do that. But it's not. It's like most stuff. It's not like the information isn't out there. It is out there. It's just you'll have to find it. I'm not going to deliver it to you.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk about. Because you've coined a system, like the plane system or the truth plane. Like, let's talk about that and how that can roll into lie detection and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So here was the thing that originally I did that was unique, and that you can't get anywhere else in any other literature around nonverbal communication until I published Winning Body Language, which was the first book that I wrote, and this was the gesture plane system, which suggests that it's a model that suggests that the horizontal height that your hands are at as you're speaking or as you're performing any kind of behaviors has a truly fundamental effect on the way that you're perceived in a predictable manner and the way that you start to perform yourself. It affects you and it affects others quite predictably. And so I codified that system. Now, before that, nobody else in nonverbal communication had been thinking about that at all. I don't know why. It seemed really obvious to me. Because of the world that I worked in, but nobody else had really come across it. So just to kind of demonstrate that, if I pull away from the camera a little bit, and now I'm going to gesture to you, and as I'm speaking, I'm doing open palm gestures at exactly navel height. It doesn't really matter if I'm not doing open palm gestures. I could be doing any other kinds of signals or gestures. But the important thing is that your attention is being drawn to my stomach, to my navel area. And my guess is that it's giving you a prediction about me and about the feeling and intention that I have around my words. Now I'm going to bring my hands, same kind of gesture, open palm gestures, but they're now up at chest height. What I want you to notice and also listen to is what's happened differently in my voice already.
Yeah, it's gone up. Your pitch has gone up.
Yeah, and that is universal across the planet. It doesn't matter where you go. If you push people's hands up, you're going to see the pitch of their voice go up. Now, they can try and cause the pitch of their voice to drop, as I'm doing now, but it's really hard hard work for their body to do that. And it becomes very incongruent. And I'm now having to fight the incongruency of it, because that's not how the body works. As the hands get higher, the pitch of the voice gets higher. As the hands get lower, the pitch changes, and your perception of me changes. And the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in my bloodstream change, and that changes the endocrine system. And therefore, that's going to change the way that some of my neurons are firing off right now. And again, this is predictable. Now, if I bring my hands up to mouth height, which is so by the way, belly height, navel height is what I coined as the truth plane. Chest height, the passion plane. Below the belt line, the grotesque plane. Again, that has a very specific, I'm now hanging my hands down in the grotesque plane.
Sure. And
you'll notice a very different feeling from me if I allow my body to be open to the triggering system that happens there. You'll notice a big difference. So imagine that I was somebody who naturally as most people do, naturally goes on to speak to an audience, and they hang their hands down by their side because they're either in fight or flight, or they feel relaxed for some reason. What do you think would happen if somebody like me just said, you're not going to do that anymore? What you're going to do is bring your hands up to navel height, and you're going to, I don't mind what you're saying and what else you're doing, that everything you do is going to be from that truth plane there. Or I might say, at this point, I want you to bring your hands up to the passion plane, because I know exactly what that's going to do to an audience. I know that they will mirror you. And by mirroring you, their levels, and they'll do it unconsciously, their levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide are going to change in their bloodstream, just as is happening to you right now as you're watching me, because I can see it happening in your face right now. You quickly start to mirror me. And then we would look at, well, how can you then control that audience? How can you then totally be in control of their mirror neuron system, and can even control their breathing around them? So you've got grotesque, truth, okay, passion up at the chest, closure and disclosure around the mouth area, thoughts and different locations of thought around the head area, and what I call the ecstatic plane, which is anything above the head. And once you know that vocabulary, you can get very specific results out of an audience and get them to make predictions about you and control their predictions. So that's essentially what my book Winning Body Language is about, is how to control the meaning of you in other people's minds by using this gesture plane system and some other elements of that, some other frameworks that again, I coined as well: the table plane, the door frame, the wheel plane, that basically you can locate your body and your center of gravity to have a massive effect on the prediction system that other people have. There's my little rundown of that, Traci.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So let's talk about, how are you using this out there? Like, are you working on investigations a lot? Are you working with sales teams more? Tell me about your clients, and like, do you have any stories you can share about how you've used this, or how some of your clients have had some success?
Yeah, sure. So look, the main amount of my work is about how you show up as a communicator. And how you influence and persuade, and how you do that really economically. What are the simplest, most effective things you can do to get people to predict something about you and your content, and therefore more likely be open to it? How do you trigger their theory of mind in a specific way? So I use that with all kinds of clients, whether it's entrepreneurs just with a new idea, whether it's leaders of G7 who have to lead a whole public down a certain route that they want them to go, or convince other leaders in negotiations of ideas that they have. So really, it's, I would say the main amount of work that I do is in sales and leadership. How do you change other people's behaviors by managing your own behavior, but your own behavior in a way that you understand the vocabulary involved, and you can paint with that vocabulary in a very predictive way. It isn't, I'm not talking about an art that's kind of postmodern and like, hey, I just do my thing and they can take out of it what they want. No, this is like, I know the result I'm trying to get. I know I only have a certain amount of resource to get that on. I'm going to pick some people to talk to, and I'm going to take them to that result as quickly and effectively as I can. That's the world that I tend to work in. And I'm now, almost I'm now totally exclusively at this point in time during COVID doing that via camera. And that's a whole other world as well. How does this lens work when it comes to that gesture plane system and everything else? Now, at the same time, just like you, I am fascinated with that idea of truth and lies. In fact, the last book that I wrote with Traci Thompson is called Truth and Lies. I'm fascinated with this ideal that we have around truth and the ideal that we have around lies. Truth, very good. Lies, very bad to lie. Very good to tell the truth. No, that's not the complexity of the human world that we live in. Right. In fact, I would say lying is one of our most important social skills, as is telling the truth. The key is knowing which lies to tell and accept, because accepting a lie is a very important social skill. Accepting the truth is a very important social skill. What you need to know to fit in with the group is which lies to tell and accept and which truths to tell and accept. Because if you do it wrong, you're not part of the group. Right.
Okay. So let's dig into that just a little bit, because it's going to change with every group that you're in, right?
Sure.
And lying is as old as humans, right? And it's also the reason we're able to, detecting lies, right, is one of the reasons we've been able to survive, I think, as a species. So is there a structure that you have for which lies to accept, which lies to tell? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, so look, notice your bias there is detecting lies is why we've survived. Accepting lies is why we've survived as well. Okay. But notice the moral bias that you're right.
Okay.
And that moral bias will be around, the clients that you have. The clients that you have, my guess is, are going, when certain people tell these certain lies, it damages us and our group. So we want you to go and find those liars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it damages, but does it damage everybody? No, it doesn't damage everybody. There's a whole bunch of lies that I just don't care about. Mm-hmm. That an organization we want you to find this liar because they've been embezzling money and they're lying about it. It's like, what's that got to do with me? Like, I don't care. Like, what's that going? Only has something to do with me when it affects my group. I'm a social mammal. I'm not part of every group. I'm part of some, but not all groups. And some of those groups matter more. And the ones that matter most to me, I will accept the lies, okay? And I will detect some of the lies better. Okay. So, but it's a balance of both. You've got to get the balance. If you go around, imagine somebody who's an exceptional lie detector in a group, and they call out every lie that they hear, everyone. How long do you think they stay in the group?
It doesn't last but a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's right. They're done. They're done. They're done because, number one, they're just annoying. It's like, man, I'm just telling a story here. That was, I know I exaggerated. I know that, I embellished, but that's part of telling a great story and engaging everybody. Why? Because we're just having fun. Mm-hmm. We're only having fun. We're trying to make the day go by. And if you don't know the difference between a fun lie for the group, because a lie is a lie. Right. I mean, if you look at St. Augustine's treatise on lying, I think he goes through about 12 different types of lying. And for him, all of them are bad. Like all of them, you're going to hell.
Right.
He doesn't, just some you're going to a worse part of hell.
Oh, of course. Because,
Yeah, but they're all bad. Well, St. Augustine, you are a monk. Like you're you're only living in literally a cloistered environment. So you're not having to deal with the complexity that we're dealing with right now, and the complexity of, like you don't even have a wife and kids.
Well, it's easy to be enlightened when you're live in a cave somewhere or whatever else.
Sure, it's if you are sociopathic, it's easy to be the most moral person in the room.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. All right.
Because if I'm sociopathic, like everybody else is a worm and an amoeba, and I'm the highest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
So it's easy. The more sociopathic environments I put myself in, the less socially complex they are. The more I think I'm at a godlike status of moral ability. So people put these moral judgments around truth and lies rather than really understanding the social complexity of that system. So look, back to your point, what's my first system for detecting a lie? First system is, does it really matter? Like, who cares? Yeah, who cares? Because if we're really, you know this as well as I do, Traci, if we're really going to go in and detect a lie, it's going to be expensive.
Oh yeah,
well, it's going to cost. Yeah.
So people ask me this all the time. They're like, "Don't you get tired out there?" And I'm like, "No, because I'm either on or I am off." And here is my criteria. 1, do I care? 2, am I on the clock? Like, who is paying the bill? Right. And if both of those are no, then the answer is like, don't care. Right.
Don't care. No, you were talking earlier about the behavior panel.
Yeah.
And we're producing sometimes 2 hours of us chatting about truth and lies and lie detection and truth detection. And you might go, well, why are you doing that then? Because we're having fun together. Because what else are we going to do? Who else are we going to hang out with and do that kind of thing?
You guys are fantastic. Let's give you like a little plug on that. So Behavior Panel is on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's really the only place, I guess, that I've found like top law enforcement interrogators actually reviewing true crime in snippets and absolutely fantastic, totally top notch. Love you guys. Make sure you tune in. So, but this is what you guys do anyway, and you just decided to record it one day, or how did?
Yeah, we just decided to record it one day. It's like COVID hit, and we're like, well, nobody's getting on a plane, so we're all free. We've all got more time. Let's just hang out, because we would chat individually with each other about, like we've hung out and chatted. Yeah. We've hung out and chat, and then eventually you go, like we're going here. Well, why wouldn't we just record that? Because other people might be interested. Oh, yeah. Well, they might or they might not. Either you're listening to this and watching this right now, and you're going, this is super interesting, or you've already gone. Yeah. You've already switched off and go, what is this nonsense? Anyway, we found that people were really interested in what we were chatting about. So we're doing it because we're detecting lies and truth because we think it's fun and we like talking to each other. But if you wanted to engage us to do that on purpose, let's like people engage you, we'd have to say to you, how important is understanding the factual nature of this, the truth and the lies of this to you, because it's going to be work to do it, and that will cost you. And so the result that you get, the information that you get, is that valuable enough for you to get this work done? And sometimes people go, yeah, I didn't know it would be that much.
Well, yeah. Well,
then the result isn't that valuable to you then, is it?
I've had people like from the Making a Murderer, I guess they have like all kinds of clubs on YouTube or on Facebook and things like that. And they've reached out. They're like, can you do it? I'm like, okay, don't care. And it's going to be, you want me to watch a whole series and tell you what I think? Like, that is a lot of time. Right. It's going to be, because I don't care, it's going to be very expensive.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so you lay down the price and they go, yeah, it's not that valuable to us. But, we've all had situations where you go, well, there's the cost. And people go, well, yeah, that's fine. Because the value of the information is so important, has such big ramifications,
Oh, yeah. Well, get this. Okay, so I did one, and you'll get a kick out of this, because politics, and there was a case in a little town in New York, but it was getting nasty. And one guy was trying to get the other guy out of office, and he was running, and he's like, "We got to prove that this guy's having an affair with this girl and all this." And so he sends me the video, and I do a professional opinion letter on it. And then the radio station calls me because somehow they get a hold of it. And it was the radio station for the other guy, and they skewered me. And it was so bad that I was like, okay, I'm done with radio in politics. Like I am, and I gave the guy like a good rate. It wasn't that long of a video. So the next, and I was like, never again, never. Right. And the next time someone called me, similar kind of situation. It was actually about a sheriff in Virginia who was running a sex trafficking ring, and they wanted some analysis. And they were going to do TV on it. And I was like, I named this price that was so high. I was like, there's no way they're going to say yes. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem.
Right. Right. So then you see the value.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what I started to do. So my political price is very high now because I just don't want to deal.
Yeah. The knives, when they come, are from your own team and in your back.
Yeah.
The knives are not, people look for the knives in front of them. Mm-hmm. They're not there. That's not where it's coming from.
Yeah.
As I tell my clients always, the moment you're there for the photo opportunity, or you're there speaking, whoever your handler was, wherever they put you for that, look over your shoulder. Okay. Look at whoever you trust most, who said, just stand there. Okay. Look over your shoulder, because when you get placed in a compromise, they're the ones who are going to do it to you. I guarantee.
Oh yeah,
they're the ones.
Now let's talk about that. So people, I'm sure they engage you from time to time on these kinds of cases. Like, have you ever been wrong? Have you ever looked back and go, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't have said that? Or how's your what's your thought on?
I don't think I've ever been wrong. Maybe I'm circumspect enough to
That's how I feel
too. To go, look, here's what I think the opportunities are. Here's what I think, because I'm trying to do critical thinking. That's really what I'm doing. I'm not detecting. Look, Truth and Lies is not a book on body language. It's a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on body language.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
So, when HarperCollins came to us and said, will you write a book on reading body language? I was like, no, because there's just so much good stuff out there. It's like, you've got books, Joe's got books, like good books. Like there's enough out there. Actually, I have to say though, Scott Rouse has a great handbook at the moment, Understanding Body Language, which in my view has the best illustrations of I'm trying to open up at an illustration. Just take my word for it.
Oh yeah, Scott is fantastic. He's been on the podcast, so people can listen to his interview and for sure get the book. Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah. So best illustrations. That's one of the best books that's come along when it came along this year that I kind of went, well, that's useful. In my mind, I was going, how am I going to write a useful book on body language right now? Mm-hmm. So went back to them and said, I'm going to write a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on body language. It'll have all the stuff that you want in it. But what it's really about is how you can think more carefully about everything in front of you and look at the predictability of what some of the possible outcomes are, and then lay your bet, because it's a complex world. It's not a simple world. Okay. So have I ever been wrong? I think I'm probably circumspect enough that I haven't been wrong. And the times I've been right have been right enough that I have a bias. Now I've got to know that I have a bias. I'm going to know that I have a bias. Well, one piece, just to follow up on that, one piece that we did on the behavior panel, we were on the Dr. Phil show about it as well. The guy on that we interviewed and interrogated and gave feedback to, and then did a show on it as well, was arrested just maybe yesterday or the day before yesterday, which we predicted. Look, there's only one way if he continues like this, because he's there going, I'm doing nothing. I'm doing nothing. You know, nothing going on.
You're
and we're
not,
going,
right.
okay, if this continues, okay, there is only one way that this is going, and you're getting arrested. Okay, that's going to happen. Well, we just saw the film of him being walked out.
Oh man,
walked out the house the other day.
Well, let's talk about this, because the time that I think I have been notably wrong,
right,
is really lately with the Meghan Markle interview with Oprah, and here's why I think I was wrong. Is because I like Harry a lot, and I like her a lot, and I think they've gotten a bad shake. And I also think that of course there's some truth in there somewhere, right, with behavior and how things actually pan out. But here's why, is because maybe you get this, because I think I do probably a lot more pop culture body language reads probably than you. The state of reporting is so lazy out there. It drives me crazy. They will give me a headline and tell me to backfill it. And the first time I said no, and the article went to someone else, and like, I want to be in the media.
Sure,
so the second time that this happened, I said, okay. And I just wrote whatever I wrote and sent it. It did not match the headline whatsoever. And they still printed it. Right. So they're just looking for clickbait. And so my heart goes out to them, I think, for that. And I watched that thing. I didn't see 1 ounce of deception in the whole thing, because I'm so for them, right, that I actually had to go back through and talk about it with some people. And my opinion is different now, right? Like, just based on that. But at first, I couldn't separate out, like I couldn't be neutral going in. So do you have any tips for folks who are looking or, watching people more closely to create that non-biased situation as much as possible, knowing that we're human and you can't get rid of all of it?
Yeah. So, well, it's exactly what you said there, Traci. You are human and you have a bias. Okay. And if you're telling me now that you don't have a bias, okay, you're lying not only to me, but you're most likely lying to yourself. Because you can't exist on this planet as a human being without having biases. Our whole, I wake up every morning with the bias that gravity will still work. Now, I know that's like a pretty good bet, but it's still a bias. Okay. Now I'm only telling you that because it's a weird thing to tell you, just to let you know that your whole life is made up of bias. Essentially. Otherwise, you would have to critically think everything, and your brain doesn't have the capacity to critically think everything. So it makes snap judgments based on its bias. And so even when you come to doing a piece of work around, Meghan and Harry, you have a bias. So one of the things you've got to do is go, before I even enter into this, let me be honest with myself. What is my bias and what do I think I'm most likely going to see? And then I would say, how can you be purposely agnostic? Which is really hard to do. It's like, I'm going to be agnostic on purpose around this. Or if you don't think you can manage that, make sure you write down and you consider the exact opposite of where your bias is and use what if. What if? Yeah. These are all critical thinking methods. They're not imaginary. It's not like it's nice to do. It is a critical thinking method to go, I will be purposely agnostic. Like, I just don't care. I need data. The agnostic around, for example, there being an all-encompassing deity. The agnostic isn't saying there isn't. The agnostic is just saying, I need to see the evidence.
Right.
Yeah, you give me the same as, like, if you give me the evidence, I will go, there is a God. If you give me the evidence, there isn't, I will go, there isn't a God. At the moment, I don't have a place to be because I don't see the evidence of one or the other. Okay, there's no evidence. Okay, that's agnosticism. Sure. So I need to enter into that as the agnostic and go, okay, what is the evidence? First of all, well, that's hard work. So now you got to go, do I really want to do the work on this? Or would I prefer my bias? Because that's okay. There's nothing wrong with going, I'm super pro Meghan and Harry. Here's what I see. Mm-hmm. As pro Meghan and Harry, here's what I see. Because there will be plenty of other people going, I purposely hate them.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what I see. It's like there will be a balance somewhere, but your audience, your audience will either get what they wanted or get what they will either get the truth or the lies that they wanted.
It's true.
The truth or the lies that you will sing to your choir. And the choir will either love your tune or not love your tune. They will accept the truth or the lies. Because we could say, hey, that you weren't quite accurate around that. And deep down you were biased. And then we could frame that as a lie. And we could go, yeah, but your group bought the lie. And why wouldn't they? Because your group like Meghan and Harry as well. I don't care one way or the other. Like they're not my family. They're not even, well, they are my monarch from two countries that I belong to at the moment, but I don't quite kind of buy into that either too much. I'm relatively agnostic. I have some biases and I could talk about those biases, but here's the thing, I'd be able to talk, and I got to put into words what my bias is, because that brings it fully into my neocortex rather than it sitting around my social mammalian limbic brain somewhere.
Yeah, affected things behind the scenes. That's the whole thing. And so, okay, so what else do people need to know in order to get their head around truth and lies and how they can detect them, or the importance of maybe even like not knowing is okay sometimes?
Yeah, not knowing is great, because if you don't know and you can get yourself comfortable with that, you can ask other people. Mm-hmm. That's really key. If you can get comfortable about going, I don't know about this. Like we did a behavior panel just yesterday around Hunter Biden, and what I saw in one of the images, I saw great indicators of truth telling, like really nicely stacked up, mm-hmm. like great indicators of truth telling. But I was open with the other guys going, here's what I see. It's like they're super stacked up of really good truth telling. And here's my worry. My worry is I've missed something really important here, because this doesn't fit in with everything else that we've been seeing. So I was like, tell me what I'm missing. And they were like, well, you haven't taken this into account, and you've not seen this, and you've not seen this. And yeah. Okay. But it's having the ability to go, here's the information that I have. Here's what I'm making out of that at the moment. Now help me. What is it I don't know? That's critical thinking. Okay. Is being able to go, give me more information. That's what we do in intelligence is we take all the information we can and we put it together to come out with an idea. And then we test the idea to see whether it's accurate. And if it's not accurate, we go back again. We start looking at all the information. We come up with a new idea, and then we test the idea to see if it's accurate. And that way we get closer and closer to the facts, to accuracy, I would say.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. Okay, Mark, I tell you what, I don't want to take up your whole day. So how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, easy. Truthplane.com, TRUTHPLANE. Just go to truthplane.com. You'll find me there. Link in with me as well, Mark Bowden. You'll find me on LinkedIn, easy to find. Or just go to your friendly Google and put in the words Mark Bowden, Bowden, and up I will come. You'll find me.
There you go. Very good. Thank you so much, Mark. You are awesome.